Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and welcome to Sound and Music Weekend here on Game From Scratch. We're going to be doing two things here. We're going to look at the Music and Sound Effects 2 bundle that is currently going on at Humble. Had a lot of requests to go into a little bit more detail in that, and also in this video I'm going to cover Content ID and YouTube. It's a very annoying topic, but you're kind of worried if you have your game or your gameplay on YouTube, can it get you a channel strike? Can it get you demonetized, etc.? So we're going to look at the effects of using music and licensed stuff in your YouTube content a little bit at the end of this video. Also, we're going to do a follow-up video, a separate tutorial for the Godot game engine on how to use sound and music in your Godot game. All right, so first, back to the Music and Sound Effects 2 bundle. I covered this one about a week ago. I know there were a couple of issues with it for people. The transforming robot effect, for example, some people had trouble with the zip. It seems to be working fine, at least it works fine for me right now. And the other thing you'll notice is right here, it says there are 30 items in this pack. However, if you buy it and you go through the math, there's 33 items in here. So it seems that there are 3 extra items in this bundle. The Background Ambient City, an Epic Orchestral Action Music Pack 1 and 2. So you are getting a bonus if you pick this bundle up. It's a nice little bundle, especially if you are looking for sound effects, music, loops, that kind of stuff. And we're going to go hands-on with some of it. We're not going to go through all of it. That would take way too long. But let's go hands-on with what you get. So in all these cases, it is a zip file you are downloading. And I've extracted a number of them out. And we'll go look at some of the simple stuff first, and then we'll go from there. So we'll go Action and Battle Music Pack. This one is about as straightforward as it gets. It's quite literally a collection of Ogg Vorbis sound effects. By the way, if you need to transform a sound from one thing to another, there's another software out there for handling. So if you need an MP3 or WAV file instead, you can use it. But most game engines actually support Ogg Vorbis at this point in time. So straightforward. It's music. So it's music in its final form. So you get an idea of the kind of stuff you're getting there. We also got some retro, orchestral. And let's see orchestral. So you get a good swath of options out there if that's what you're going for. So that's an action style game. We got similar things for ambient puzzle music. I don't really know what that is like. Now you're going to notice here we've got looping and not looping. And that's actually kind of handy. So a looped file, that ending, the beginning you're hearing right here, well, when we get to the end of it, like so, it's going to seamlessly transition. So it can go from the beginning to the end of the sound, and you're not going to notice. We also got here sound effects, a number of different sound effects for puzzle-style games. So failure sounds, collision sounds, success sounds, slide sounds. That sounded more like a sigh. But anyways, so that is the ambient puzzle pack. Pretty straightforward. This one is, it's okay. This one's probably the least useful I've seen of them because you can get this kind of stuff anywhere. But this is, I think, also one of the freebie ones, so I'm not going to complain. But if you have rain in your city, it's just a bunch of ambient sounds recorded from around in a city. So if you want jackhammer noises, thunder, and so on. So it's a number of different sounds. So if you've got just basically, you want to have background noise of an intersection, that's what this one is all about. We've got some chiptune stuff here, so let's go take a look here. You've got, again, some of these are loops, so these will actually end and then begin the same way. Obviously, a very chiptuney sound. We've got some songs. Pretty catchy, and these are in WAV format, 120 kilohertz there. And then finally we have stingers. Like, you know, oh, you suck, or you won. Simple, straightforward 8-bit kind of sounds going on there. Cinematic trailers, this is more of a robust music kind of thing, so you need an atmospheric loop. So more of like the dramatic sounds in the background. Riser. Some of these names I'm a little... Oh, it's sort of like the THX logo on the way in. So some of these you can use in your own compositions as well. So let's get on out of there. Cyberpunk music, pretty straightforward. We got background music. I don't know what's going wrong with my computer right now, but it'll come back. All right, here we go. So you're noticing I'm doing a wide sampling and very small bits of each one, just so you get an idea. There are different artists involved here. And then we move upon to dungeon music. Pretty straightforward. This one is a collection of zips and Ogg Vorbis. Let's go ahead and extract the Ogg Vorbis ones. I think it just picked the... Yeah, it did. Little bugger. Straightforward. I don't really would love to know why my computer is having issues. It seems to only be with Ogg Vorbis sounds too. But it goes through, it erases them all, and then it comes back. I don't get it. So, again, more music to work with. We'll get some of the more interesting stuff. So we've got here a series of explosions. Pretty straightforward if you need them in your game. We'll add all of them in. We're going to... Where are you, little buddy? Oh, there it is. All right. So, it is exactly what it says on the tin. A large number of explosions. Definitely useful. Futuristic blasters. So we've got 3 categories in that one. They're HD, wave, high quality MP3, and single definition wave, depending on the file size you need. I don't know that there's a lot of use in that, to be honest, because making a lower resolution version of sounds should be fairly simple. So let's do a heavy laser gun. And I know lasers make no sound. Plasma, different plasma. So pretty straightforward if you need that kind of stuff. Now, one of the packs I actually found the most interesting here. So there is small stuff. Here is interface sounds. So you got things like if you click sounds, power-ups, door. Oh yeah, that doesn't work. Cash register. Just the general stuff that you need to power your game. Over here, we've got a number of retro sound effects. So, weapon sounds. It's gonna. Okay, here's a so explosion. This is again retro sounding. Shot. So you got a good mix of music, loops, sound effects stuff in here. One of the packs, again, this one right here, the sports pack. If you're doing a sports genre game, there is an impressive amount of stuff here. So if you just need crowd noise, you've got, you know, just the sound of background crowds. That one is looping, so you can just play it in the background. So if you were making a sports game, you needed to have an ambient crowd sound, you could have it there. Say you're making table tennis, and let's go see the hit sounds. All right, so here we go. We'll just play that sampling. So there you see, you got a number of different sounds of paddles hitting balls. You got sounds for tennis games, so if you want to do that, the sound of tennis ball, net. Let's see, hitting the ball, and so on. So if you're making a tennis game, you got a nice collection here. And you see you've got a good bit of games covered there. So if you're in the sports genre and you're looking for sound effects pack, that could definitely be a useful one. And then we get back into the RPG categories. So we got this MMO one right here. And this one has, I don't actually know what designed versus source are, but you can find source. There is a ton here. So it's, for example, metals. You can get, oops, that's not what I meant. Pick up, item, collect. Okay, that's not the one I wanted. Armor. All right, that's what I was looking for. So, the sound of armor being hit. 15 different versions of that. Sword sounds, for example. So, if you've got putting it into a sheath. And so on. So, if you're looking at doing an RPG style game, there is a ton of content in here. Again, we got another sound effects pack for RPGs. Here you think ambient sounds. Closing of books, doors. So we've got a creaking door, for example. Okay, that was more of a gate. Let's do this one. So there you see, if you gotta have doors in your thing, a lot of sounds of gravels, jars opening, magical sounds. Yeah, so there's a ton of RPG game-ready sounds in here as well. And then we've got the orchestral pack here of RPG-style music. Again, you got it in multiple different formats here, so let's do WAV file in this case. And these are straightforward. These are just straight-out tracks. And that's kind of the idea of the pack. Now, again, I'm only showing you a sampling, and I'm already at the 10-minute mark. So there's a number of things in here that we didn't cover. I looked at that one. That one there, silly music pack, fantasy towns music pack, special effects stuff, medieval combat sounds. So if you are in the RPG era, if you need music, if you need retro style music, or you need user interface sounds, this pack pretty much has you covered. Now the question that comes up all the time is, how do I use this stuff in my YouTube video, and can I get a strike against my channel? Well, to understand this, really it kind of boils down to two things. You've got two different areas. You've got the DMCA, or the Digital Millennia Copyright Act. It's an archaic piece of crap legislation that is being abused, but that is being abused by the likes of you post TV content that you ripped off, or so it's more like straight out content theft. That's where they're striking people for the most part. Where you're dealing with here mostly though is content ID. Now the way the content ID system works basically is creators can set up and say, I created this. Now you're not gonna be able to do it with sound effects. They're too indistinguishable, and they have to be of a certain length for the fingerprint really to work right. But what they do is they take that content, music videos, recordings, compositions, and art tracks, and they kind of take a digital fingerprint of it. It's sort of like an SHA tag for compressed files to verify that they are what they are. They create fingerprints of these music or sound files. So if they find a match to a music track that someone has registered under Content ID, yes, you can get issues on your channel. But one of those things to be really aware of, if you are not in YouTube to make money, you don't care. You can't get strikes. Now the way it works, DMCA, you get strikes. 3 strikes, your channel is gone. Poof, gone. So that's a big deal. Content ID claims are a little bit less of a big deal. What you instead get there is the person who registered the Content ID can say, I want this taken down, or I want to make the money from it. So if you're not trying to make money off your game trailer, which you probably shouldn't be, if you're advertising your game, you should probably have ads turned off, and you're not there to profit off the trailer for your game, or some gameplay footage or whatever, shouldn't have an issue at all. And the other thing you run into sometimes is the Content ID creators for these tracks will often register them under Content ID. That way they can say, okay, if it flags up, they just ignore it. So then you don't get a claim against you. But the big thing to take away from this is if you use music for something like this, a royalty-free pack, first off, you have a license. So when it comes time to disputing, you can actually dispute, say that you have the thing and get your monetization back. But the big thing to take away here is if you use music like this, the worst case scenario is your video is taken down, or they take the monetization away from it. If your video isn't monetized, no big deal at all. So don't mix up copyright claims with Content ID claims. And this would mostly fall under Content ID claims. So for the most part, you are safe using this music. And if you get into the dispute, you can show the license, you can say you've got it registered, and hopefully you don't get an idiot bot on the Google side of things and they overturn the claim anyways. It's a pain in the butt. The only thing I really precaution against, and this is where I've heard of a lot of creators getting screwed, is when they use the same track as sort of like an intro track to their channel, and then somehow that gets claimed, because then what they can do is demonetize your entire channel. And in that scenario, this can really burn you in the butt. So that's one of those things to be aware of, but for the most part, you don't need to worry. Content ID claims aren't a huge deal. All right, that's it. Hopefully you found that useful, and stay tuned for the the Godot tutorial coming later. Talk to you all later. Goodbye.